Hey 101 students, welcome to one of the longest lessons on grammar that I'm going to give you in this class. It's on commas, and the reason it's so long is because there are so many rules that go with comma usage in our language. Some grammar books use as many as 10 or 11 different grammar rules, but what I find is that if I teach you 5 main comma rules, you'll be able to punctuate any sentence that requires a comma usage. So buckle up, it's going to take a few minutes to explain it. In this first example, Mary likes ice cream, John likes froyo, or frozen yogurt. We have two complete thoughts, but we can use a coordinating conjunction, and remember this by fanboys. That might be familiar to you. And fanboys is an acronym that stands for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. Those 7 little words can be used to combine two complete thoughts. And the way we do is we take out the period and we add one of them. Mary likes ice cream and John likes froyo. But because it's still two complete thoughts, we put in our comma and then add the word and. Now, if John were a pronoun like he, Mary likes ice cream and he likes froyo, lowercase. We would have to make that as well. You could also say, wait a minute, well, couldn't I use the word but? You bet. Mary likes ice cream, comma, but John likes froyo. That would be a second choice of words that we could use to combine these two complete thoughts, and they would both be correct. In the second one, I have what's called a subordinating conjunction. Now, things like even though, as if, although are all subordinating conjunctions. And what they do is they take complete thoughts, only five, Jimmy rode alone, and they make it into a not complete thought. So we need to set that off with a comma. So here's the way that you would change this. Although only 5, comma, Jimmy, who is the 5-year-old, rode alone. Jimmy rode alone is the complete thought. By adding his age, we're giving you additional information to the sentence, but we've got to set that off. Now, here's the kicker. Let's say you're not quite sure whether to use a comma or not. Try swapping it around so that the subject of the sentence is first, and then you have Jimmy rode alone, although only 5 years old. And guess what? Then you don't have to put a comma in at all. It's one of those little quirks of the English language. In the third one, we have what's called the series. Now, in a series, it means that we're listing a series of something. In this case, we ate biscuits, eggs, and potatoes for breakfast, for example. Well, to do it correctly, we need to put a comma between each of the things. Now, I put a comma here, but what you need to know is that you do not have to put a comma before the and, unless there's a good reason. If I had said we ate biscuits, beans and rice, and potatoes, you can see that beans and rice would get confusing because it would be beans and rice and potatoes. And we don't tend to do the repetition like that in the English language. So I recommend putting it in if it makes it clearer for you. But in the end, if you don't want to put it in, you don't have to. Just be consistent with your series comma all the way through. And then that end series will not confuse people. In this next sentence, it says, Jamie, my cousin, is a pilot. So do we put our commas in here to set off the positive or the extra information or not? Well, the correct answer is yes and no. If I have only one cousin and you know that Jamie is my cousin, then I'm giving you additional information and I need to put the commas around it. If, however, it's restrictive and you don't know that Jamie is my cousin, I need to leave the commas out, because then it becomes a required piece of information for that sentence. So if it's extra information, put the comma in. If it isn't, and I need to know that information, you leave it out. This last one is the one that gives people the most challenge. It's called the cumulative or coordinate adjective rule. In the first example, I have 4 little blue houses. There are no commas between these because they're describing different parts or aspects of the house, different characteristics. 4 tells us the number, little tells us the size, blue tells us the color. In the second one, however, I've got 4 spooky cobweb-covered houses. In this case, I have the number of houses. I have a house that's spooky and cobweb-covered. These two things are describing both the way they look. And if they're describing the same thing or the same quality, I need to put a comma between them. So that's the difference between cumulative and coordinate adjectives. They do take some practice, so try the ones below and also check out the PowerPoint.